Hey everybody, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description of this video for some of the best online retailers. Thanks. What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. It's going to be a quick one today. This is the Sencut Actium. Who is Sencut? So Sencut, I think most people know by now. There's WE knives, and then there's Civivi knives, right? We're familiar with them. And now there's Sencut. They're all part of the same overall company. WE makes the premium knives. Civivi started off, it was strictly budget knives, and then they've got some stuff that's kind of in between the budget and premium territory. Sencut looks to be their new dedicated budget brand. I don't understand exactly why we needed a budget line, but I mean, okay, here it is. So let's talk about it. Thanks so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. There's a link for my Patreon right down in the description. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. There you go. I'll let you look at it up close. This is going to be quick because I don't have a whole lot to say about this, but I think it's still worth doing a video on. Overall length of the Sencut Actium coming in at 8 inches. Blade length is coming in at 3.5 inches, and the cutting edge is coming in at 3.25. So be careful with that. The blade length depending on where you live. Go ahead and do just a couple of size comparisons. How about up against the Ontario Rat Model 1, which is a knife that is bigger, and maybe the Spyderco Para 3 would be the other good size comparison, which is a little bit smaller. So you can see there, it's kind of in between. It's got a full-size knife presence for sure. And there's a large forward choil up there, so you are definitely equipped with a lot of handle room. Let's go ahead and do the blade stock not blade stock thickness, but just thickness overall. It's about the same thickness as the Para 3, maybe just a hair thicker. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. You can see here, handle length is definitely longer than the Para 3. It's approaching where the PM2 is. Not anything crazy. Even including the flipper tab and this peak up here on this sort of harpoon, almost like a shredder or backlash blade from the Civivi knives. Even with the peak of that, we're still not looking at the exact same height. The PM2 and Para 3 are still going to be taller. So it's not going to be a super difficult knife to carry. Let's take a look at the inside here. Get my flashlight out, which is... Oh, is it? Oh, okay. It does want to work today. They have milled out the inside. Very similar. Actually, there's a lot here that's like super duper similar to what I experienced with a Civivi knife. It even feels almost like... almost exactly. There's a couple little things. Almost exactly like a Civivi, right? So... what's next? We need to do the hardware check, get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive, very recommendable. You can find them, well, gosh, now, I don't know. If you don't know, I had to remove a lot of links to specific places because reasons. So I didn't think about this. If I can find them somewhere else, then I will link them down there. But those were in the links that I don't think I can use anymore. So anyways, the WIA bit set and the WIA stubby driver are very recommendable, whether you find them down there or you find them somewhere else. No worries on that. But anyways, I believe it looks like the pivot is probably... Oh no, it's going to be a T8. I mean, oh yes, but not a T10. For whatever reason, I was just under the assumption it was going to be a T10. T8 here and T8 right here and here. Okay, so everything's T8 except for the pocket clip screws, which is fine. Those are going to be T6. There's only a couple of screws on this guy, so that's fantastic. I have no complaints about that whatsoever. Did we do everything there? I think we did. I think that's everything. So I've got two of these guys out here. I've got one that's red in D2, and I've got one that's black in D2 as well. I think there was a time where a lot of Sencut knives, in fact, it might still be this way, that they did some 440C. I'm going to prefer D2 over 440C. 440C, believe it or not, a long time ago used to be like the greatest steel of all time. It was like today's Vanax or LC200N or M390. Very well-rounded steel, and of course, 440C is still absolutely fine on a budget knife. I like D2. It's going to hold an edge a little bit longer, and I don't really have a problem sharpening it. I also don't really care that it's not quite a stainless steel. 12% chromium, that's going to affect people more or less depending on where they live, but out here in Kansas, it doesn't really affect me. So D2 is great, right? These come in at about 40 to 45 bucks, depending on where it is that you're looking. It's very similar to the Backlash, isn't it? It's very similar. So the reason that, here's the thing. The overall fit and finish is pretty good. I really don't have a problem with it. This guy is just excellent. We've got perfect centering, right? Detent feels good. The action feels good. It feels very similar to a Civivi. It's not quite as smooth as my Praxis, but pretty good, right? Lockup, fine. Engagement's good. No blade play up, down, left, or right. And it disengages just fine. There's no stickiness. This guy is a little bit of a goofball. There's some lock stick. There's some gritty, lumpy parts in the action, right? And I think maybe it's my imagination. I thought it was a little off center, maybe not. So I think the name of the game here with this line is that for the most part, you're probably going to get, I mean, this is G10, steel liners, and D2. You're definitely going to get the materials that we expect in this price range. One of these has excellent fit and finish and excellent execution of all the surfaces. Everything feels good, right? There's no lock stick. No. And then this other one is a little bit goofy. Now, I imagine that there's a certain percentage, between all brands and companies where they just have a few of them are just going to be a little wonky. With Civivi knives, I have basically never, for the same price point, I've never felt anything feel a little bit wonky. I'm not going to say that you should expect fit and finish issues with these Sencut knives, but these are the only two that I've ever handled, and they were sent to me directly by WE, who is honestly a company that I really like. I love WE and Civivi knives for sure. But I'm going to guess that they're going to, do some really interesting stuff with Civivi that's going to be at a slightly higher price point than the $40 to $50 we expect them to be in. They're going to continue to make the premium stuff with WE, and then this is going to be their ultra budget end, like ultra budget end that's going to probably hover around the $30 to $45 mark that's going to use G10, D2 and have it, right? I would guess most of the Sencuts out there, I'm just going to guess, probably feel like this. They feel almost exactly the same as the standard Civivi knives that we got used to, right? But it wouldn't surprise me if periodically you have one that's kind of acting like this. Now, this guy I could probably take apart, clean it up, add some lubrication, and it would honestly be just fine. But I do have a little bit of lock stick there, which isn't necessarily a problem. It might work itself out, right? But I'm wondering if that's just a product of, these being made in a very inexpensive way. They do still have, impressive tolerances. Like if I were to compare this to like my Rat, like when you get a Rat 1 or 2 brand new, they function just fine and they always lock up just fine, but they're just goofy in terms of fit and finish, right? It's still better overall than that, so I can't complain too much, but I'm just telling you guys what I noticed. Ergonomically, I think it's great. We don't have anything that's just like, oh my gosh, it's just the most amazing thing in the world, but can you hold on to it? Is it comfortable? Yes, absolutely. We have what is obviously, if it's not identical, it's extremely similar to the pocket clips that we see on Civivi knives, right? They got the deep carry thing, and they got the recessed screws. The pocket clip itself is not recessed into the scale, right? And you can flip it to the other side. Great. That's okay. It's not wiggling around or anything. And then it comes down and it comes to a bill. And you feel that bill when you're, in the standard position, and you feel it a little bit less when you're choked up. The choked up position on this guy is super comfortable because you've got the combination of the forward choil and you've got this area back here behind this sort of harpoon notched thing. And it feels good. It's comfortable. I mean, this is undoubtedly going to be a convenient and purposeful tool the way that it is, right? There's nothing here that makes me go, oh gosh, no, I just can't hold it. No, it's actually really, really comfortable. They've knocked all these areas down. Fit and finish, overall, fitment of everything is almost identical to the Civivis that I've handled. It's just this guy with the feeling of the action, and that you've heard it there, that there's a little bit of lock stick, which is not something that I generally experience with Civivi knives. This is a sort of harpoony clip point style blade that does have a thumb stud. I don't know that the thumb studs were necessary on this guy, but they're not in the cutting path and they function, so I can't really complain too much. Some people really like to deploy their knives that way, even when it has a flipper tab. So, okay. It says Sencut and has that logo. Okay. Doesn't really bother me. It says D2 on the other side, which is great. That's it. That's all the more that really needs to be on there. We have this sort of black I don't know that it's actually DLC. It appears to be some type of coating. But it's very similar to the coating that I've seen on, or the appearance of it is very similar to knives that I've seen that cost way more, right? If you get like a black washed blade from Wii that costs $200, it looks pretty similar to this, right? So it's fine. I don't have a problem with it. And the other one that is satin finished is very similar to any other satin finish that we see on budget folding knives, right? Or even knives that are more expensive. We have a flat that carries out about 60% the length of the blade, 65% or so. It does get really thin down here at the tip. I don't think we measured blade stock thickness. That's another thing that we didn't do. Let's go ahead and do that. Where are my calipers? There they are. Blade stock thickness. I told you guys this was going to be a short video, didn't I? I guess I got to hold up to that. Blade stock thickness, 115 thousandths. Yeah, very thin. That's about what I expected, right? Definitely going to have a puncture capable tip, and it does come down to a very thin cutting edge. This is going to be pretty much right in line with what you expect from Civivi knives, performance cutter, right? It's definitely going to slice. It's definitely going to do your EDC stuff. The edge feels good. This one feels great. There's no rough spots or weird spots, right? And this one also does. In fact, the bevels, the final cutting bevels look good. Yeah, both of them look pretty good. I don't really have a problem with the blades at all. Seems to be sharing a lot of the same hardware that we see on Civivi knives. The pivot, the screws, the pocket clip, the standoffs back here. There is a lanyard hole that is not being prioritized with the clip, so that's fine. And the G10 is peel ply, but it's not aggressive peel ply. You can definitely feel it. I think it does add meaningful traction. It might fray up your jeans a little bit in and out of the pocket with this clip, but not really that big of a deal. Lockup, good. Like I said, centering, good. There's no detent lash on this. No blade play up, down, left, or right. Everything, I mean, there's no detent lash on this guy. It's just the, it's a little gritty in the action, a little slow, maybe a little bit tight too. I probably could loosen that up, but that's how it came, right? Not everybody has the tools right there and ready to go. These are pretty good. So I'm kind of, I mean, this one especially is in line with what I expect from a $40 knife. The thing is that I'm wondering why Civivi is increasing or doing knives in, you know, with their, what was their base budget brand. They're still doing those, but then they're also offering Civivis that are a little bit more expensive and a little bit more dressy. And then they're offering the Wii knives. And then these guys are just taking this, or they're kind of standing in line next to the Civivi knives that are about the same price. It would have been really impressive if they brought these guys in at about $30 or like $28 and be like, wow, you can get, that's an amazing knife for freaking $28 or $28 to $35, right? And then it would have made more sense because Civivis are hovering around the $40 to $60 mark now, right? But instead we just have something that feels almost exactly like a Civivi for roughly the same price as the base Civivis from the same company, but it's named Sencut instead of Civivi. I just don't really get that. It's fine. This is a fine, there's a million knives out there like this, and they did a good job with it. It's just a very straightforward, generic flipper liner lock on bearings using G10 and D2. There's not really anything that makes this stand out. It's just another, you know, yeah, it's pretty good, right? Had they dropped this down to some crazy, and I don't know if they could do it, but had this come in at 28 to $30, I'd have been like, yeah, it's generic and straightforward, and there's a lot of other stuff out there like this, but holy crap, it's like mega inexpensive, you know? I would have been really excited about this, but when I saw the price, like 40 to $45, I was like, why? Why does this, I'm not really sure why it exists. So this is weird. It's like, I'm not ultra super impressed by these. They're what I expect from a $40 knife. Right? And if that's all you wanted to know, then there you go. You got your information, right? Is it recommendable? Sure. It's just, but in like kind of a boring way. Like there's just nothing spicy here. It's just like, I don't know. It's like a pretty good burger, a pretty good cheeseburger, except they didn't put the cheese on it. And it's just like, here you go. You know, just a regular burger. It's good though. I'm going to be putting this in my Cheap Knives I Like playlist and my Recommended Knives playlist. But if you're looking for wow factor, it's not here. If you're looking for a good recommendable folding knife, yeah. If you're looking for wow factor from Sencut, I don't know that element's going to be there. I don't know that they really intended for it to be there, but it's just, you get what I mean? It's just kind of, okay. That's going to be pretty much it. I do appreciate these being sent by Wii for me to check out, though. It's still a good knife, absolutely. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and subscribe because there is definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.